Sleep 2 Business Genius, Business History, Fact number 16 of 107-minute read. The VOC, born 1602, changed everything. The Dutch East India Company, the Verenigd Oostendisch Company, or VOC, was established in 1602 as a merger of competing Dutch trading companies. Within decades it had become the most powerful commercial organization on earth. By Sleep to Business Genius, Business History, Amsterdam, founded 1602. The VOC monogram seal, symbol of the company that rewrote the rules of global commerce, pioneered corporate structure, and dominated Asian trade for nearly 2 centuries. Let your breathing slow. And consider what happens when competition gives way to cooperation on a massive scale. In the years around 1600, the Dutch Republic was engaged in a furious race to capture the spice trade from the Portuguese, who had dominated Asian commerce for a century. Multiple competing Dutch trading companies were sending fleets to Asia, often getting in each other's way, driving up prices for spices in Asia and driving them down in Europe, and collectively weakening the Dutch position against their rivals. The solution, brokered by the Dutch government in 1602, was radical: force all the competing companies to merge into a single entity. The result was the Verenigd Oostendisch Company, the United East India Company, or VOC, and it changed the history of commerce. The VOC was the product of an insight that still drives corporate strategy today, that in the right circumstances, cooperation creates more value than competition. The merger of 1602 did not just create a bigger company. It created a new kind of company. A new kind of entity. Amsterdam 1602 to 1799, the world's first modern corporation. What made the VOC genuinely revolutionary was not its size but its structure. Earlier trading ventures had been organized on a per-voyage basis. Investors contributed to a specific expedition, collected their returns when it came back, and the arrangement dissolved. The VOC, by contrast, was established as a permanent company with a fixed capital base of 6.4 million guilders, contributed by thousands of investors across the Dutch Republic. These investors held shares in the company itself, not in any specific voyage. They were entitled to dividends from the company's overall profits, and crucially, their shares could be freely bought and sold. A shareholder who needed their money back did not have to wait for the company to wind up. They could sell their shares to another investor. This created the world's first liquid equity market. The VOC at its peak. At its peak in the mid-17th century, the VOC employed around 50,000 people worldwide, maintained a fleet of 150 merchant ships and 40 warships, and paid annual dividends of 40% or more to its shareholders. It controlled the spice trade from the Maluku Islands, had established a colonial settlement at the Cape of Good Hope, modern Cape Town, and maintained trading posts from Persia to Japan. Its total share capital, adjusted for inflation, would make it one of the largest companies in history. The blueprint. The VOC was not just a company. It was a template. Its structure, permanent capital, freely transferable shares, limited liability for shareholders, professional management separate from ownership, became the model for every joint stock company that followed. The English East India Company restructured itself along similar lines. The great European trading companies of the 17th and 18th centuries all drew from the VOC blueprint. And ultimately, every publicly traded company in the world today is a descendant of the innovations the VOC pioneered in 1602. The company eventually declined in the late 18th century, eaten away by corruption, military overreach, and the costs of administering its vast territorial holdings. It was wound up by the Dutch government in 1799. But the organizational form it had created, the modern joint stock corporation, lived on and multiplied until it became the dominant institution of global capitalism. Founded in Amsterdam in 1602. Still shaping the world, in every company that ever issued a share. Tags: VOC, a Dutch East India Company, Dutch Golden Age, a business history, corporate history, joint stock company, Amsterdam, sleep learning, economic history. Sleep to Business Genius weaves 100 fascinating business history facts into soothing, story-driven narratives. This is fact number 16 of 100. Part of 100 Facts About Business to Fall Asleep To, available as a full narrated video on YouTube.